Yo, what's up guys? You got PokeaimMD here with another competitive Pokemon Sun and Moon moveset video guide, analysis, whatever you want to call it, on Kartana the Ultra Beast. Now before we actually get into this, I just want to say if you missed any of the previous moveset videos or guides, there's a link to it down below in the description. I encourage you to go ahead and check them out. There's a playlist. Also, feel free to follow me on Twitter and Twitch to keep up to date or to know when I stream. By the way, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, and if you don't celebrate Christmas, oh, happy Sunday. I don't know what else to say. You, whatever. No? Merry Christmas. Okay, anyway, going on. Now, Kartana is a grass and steel type, which has ridiculous base 181 attack, ridiculous base 131 defense, and amazing 109 base speed. Outside of that, it has really low base 59 HP and extremely low base 31 defense. But being grass and steel, couple that with all the great coverage this Pokemon actually gets, which would just be the next two moves you usually use on it. It is a very potent threat, a very solid physical attacker, and be scared of this thing, definitely, because a Scarf 1 can sweep an unprepped team, or even a prep team. Now the first set we have is the Swords Dance Life Orb set. Now this set just maximizes attack and speed with a Jolly Nature, allowing Kartana to outspeed Pokemon such as Keldeo, Garchomp, anything below there, base 100s. Of course, because it is Swords Dance Life Orb, you don't want to Swords Dance on it. Leaf Blade and Sacred Sword are your next two attacks. Leaf Blade allows you to break through Pokemon such as Tapu Fini, bulky waters in general, also great for ground types like Landorus and Hippowdon respectively. Sacred Sword is your next attack. I think Sacred Sword is mandatory. That allows you to actually deal damage to Pokemon such as Celesteela and Skarmory, and also not be walled by a Pokemon such as Heatran, being able to deal with them with a +2 attack. Now the next attack that you can have is either Smart Strike, your Steel Stab, or Night Slash. Whoa, Best Bite Slash. Ooh. I'm sorry about that. But it's either Smart Strike or Night Slash. Now Smart Strike is your Steel Stab. However, and that allows you to deal with fairy types and just solid neutral damage on Pokemon that already resist leaf, or excuse me, grass and fighting type, which would be like dragon such as Latios, Latias respectively. However, Night Slash is also a viable option as it allows you to knock out Alolan Marowak, as well as be able to knock out Mega Metagross. +2 Life Orb Night Slash does 118 to 139%. Of course, be wary about Mega Metagross because Hammer Arm does have a chance to KO you, and it is faster than you. It's a really solid chance to KO you, and it is faster than you. But that allows you to deal with that, as well as dealing damage to Zard Y, knocking that out at full HP with +2. So it's just a good neutral hit for Kartana. That's just the offensive Life Orb set. Because of its Spadef, you do have to worry about this thing because even a resisted Tapu Lele Psychic and Psychic Terrain knocks this thing out 100%. So be really careful who you're setting this thing up on, but if it's a physical attacker, Landorus or Hippowdon, things like that, you can definitely set up on those and then knock them out with +2 Leaf Blade. Next up we have Scarf Kartana. Because of its base speed, which again allows it to outspeed pretty key speed tiers, I would say Garchomp, Keldeo, base 100s. It does function as a very solid Scarfer, and on top of that, because of its ability Beast Boost, it raises its attack since that is its highest stat. So every single time you get a kill, you get another attack raise, and that makes Kartana a very deadly Choice Scarf user. So the set is Leaf Blade, Night Slash, Sacred Sword, and Smart Strike. I believe this is probably the best set, just the best overall coverage. Obviously, you have Dual Stab, your ability to hit Pokemon that are Steel types, and then Night Slash is just, like I said, good coverage. Dark Stab is, or it's not stab, but dark attacks are very solid in this game when there's Pokemon like Latios, Latias running around, Pokemon being weak to dark in general. And the fact that this Mon is just very scary, even if you're a resisted Mon, you have to deal with a 461 attack monster. Even if you're a resisted Mon, like a +2 or +1 Life Orb hurts. It's doing like 40-something% plus to Metagross. I'll actually show you the calc right now, but this is just Kartana. I had this calc open, but unfortunately it is closed. But this is Leaf Blade to Metagross. Now at +1, you're doing close to 40, and Adamant is also a very viable option on this Mon. If you go Adamant though, you are outsped by base 100s. like Pokemon such as Choice Scarf Jirachi. You're also outspelled by Scarf Chomp, but it is a viable option as well because this thing has 507 attack, and I showed you the calc right here, but Leaf Blade is doing 40% to Mega Metagross, which is ridiculous. That's just +1, of course, after you get the Beast Boost. But I prefer Jolly on the Scarf set. Adamant is definitely a viable option, though, just because of how hard it hits. Next up, we have the Speed Boost set. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why is the Speed Boost set timid? Why does this thing have a 19 speed IV? Why is Kartana EV'd in HP? All of your questions are about to be answered. Now, because Beast Boost, the way it activates or the way it works is that when you get a KO, excuse me, it boosts your highest attack stat or your highest stat +1. And because Kartana has a ridiculous attack stat at base 181, the only way to make your speed higher is to be Timid Nature 19 attack IVs. And this ensures that after you get a kill, you get a speed boost instead of an attack raise. And that makes Kartana a very, very potent sweeper. Even at +2, it still has over 600, well over 600 attack. So, and it still hits ridiculously hard, still 347, but you do need the SD boost to do this. And the idea of this is use PokeaimMD to help you pummel through Pokemon such as Skarmory, such as Celesteela. This isn't my set, by the way. I don't know who necessarily made this, but I have used it, and I found a lot of success with it. It's a legitimate set, and it's timid. 90 speed IVs. Also, the 240 HP IVs are the difference between living a Psychic from Scarf Tapu Lele, Timid Scarf Tapu Lele in Psychic Terrain. So you see it only does 80 to 95%. However, get rid of that. There's 100% minimum. So that's just the difference. The HP actually allows you to set up on something like that. So if you're +2 and they go out to the Scarf Tapu Lele, like, oh man, I could just go right for the Psychic and knock you out. Nope. You knock them out with Smart Strike at +2, obviously, and you get a speed boost, and now you have a +2 Kartana with a speed boost. But PokeaimMD allows you to power up your Sacred Sword to all-out pummeling, being able to severely damage Pokemon such as Celesteela and Skarmory. If they have been weakened, they will go down to a +2 all-out pummeling from Kartana. But the idea of this set is to boost the speed as opposed to boosting your attack with Beast Boost, and it makes Kartana a very, very potent sweeper. Like, in general, it's a great mon. Scarf is amazing on it, SD Orb, even the Speed Boost set, like I said, I've had a lot of success with this set, especially versus like teams that rely on physical attacker to deal with Kartana. I think the best way to actually deal with Kartana is to revenge kill it. I don't think you should have like a bulky mon that can take a hit, because when this thing starts beast boosting, when it starts swords dancing up on you, be careful. Pokemon such as like physically defensive Tangrowth, HP Fire are definitely good checks to Kartana. And good teammates. Magnezone is always a good teammate for this thing, even though it does add on to the fire and the fighting weakness that Kartana does have. Obviously, it helps you trap Celesteela, or at least weaken them, trap Skarmory and whatnot. And Kartana can just go to work when those mons are gone. But PokeaimMD is also a way to force your Beast Boost, because it just becomes all-out pummeling and fighting stab is strong. You can also use SteelMZ, which I mentioned in the other options over here. You can use that if you want to power up Smart Strike. And again, just good neutral covers. Next up, we have just the offensive defog set. And Kartana is a pretty solid defog, because since it does force switches, it's also not weak to Toxic Spikes because it is part Steel type, so it won't be poisoned to immune to Toxic Spikes, obviously. So it can function as a defogger. It forces switches if my opponent has a Tapu Bulu out, if they have a Tapu Lele out, if they have a non-Scarf. If they have a non-Scarf Tapu Lele out, if they have a Tapu Fini out, they're going to switch. They're going to switch. So I can take the opportunity to defog. Like I said, Kartana does force switches. It beats most hazard setters just because of its high base speed and its high attack. And the idea of this set is just to defog away your opponent's hazard, but still hit hard. Leftovers is just for longevity. Any item can really be ran. You can run Extra Belt, you can run Scarf. Scarf defog is also fine, but typically if you're using Scarf, I would advise staying away from defog, because the idea of Scarf set is to use it as a revenge killer and a semi-late game sweeper, a cleaner, like a broom, because that boy is ready to sweep because of the Beast Boost. So I have to say it like that. I'm sorry. Shout out to PK, man. I have to say it like that. I legitimately have to say it like that. But it does function well as an offensive defogger. Obviously resisting Stealth Rock, and also just being immune to Toxic Spikes, you can definitely defog those away. But be very careful with this mon. It dies to resisted hits that are special attacks. It dies to most any special attack. You don't want to switch this thing in on like Greninja's Hydro Pump. You don't want to switch it in on top of Lele's Psychic. You'll die. You'll die. And if Greninja doesn't pick you off with Hydro Pump, he'll pick you off with Water Shuriken after. So be very careful. Now it does have a few other options. I did mention SteelMZ if you want to boost your Smart Strike. Psycho Cut is also an option to be able to deal with fighting types. Typically though, I think this is completely fine. And Return is also a pretty solid neutral coverage move that can be used on Scarf or Swords Dance, being able to deal damage to Zards that resist your stab, and just neutral coverage in general. But outside of that, I don't think Kartana has too much more going for it. Thank you everybody for watching. Hope you guys all enjoyed or learned something. Feel free, like I said, to follow me on Twitch and Twitter. Links are down below. Enjoy your Christmas, and I'll see you guys later today with the Kartana Showcase. Goodbye, friends.